All right, let's dive right into this explainer because we've got a seriously fascinating paradox unfolding in the AI space right now. We're looking at a massive head-to-head clash between two absolute giants, OpenAI and Anthropic. And the crazy thing is, the dynamics of this rivalry are completely backwards from what you'd expect if you were just looking at the raw technology. Because by all traditional measures, Anthropic is winning the sheer technology race. I mean, their revenue is leapfrogging, they're locking down huge enterprise contracts, and they technically possess the smartest AI model on the planet right now. But despite having that massive technological edge, OpenAI is somehow exploiting a single historical mistake to completely dominate developer mindshare. So how on earth is the creator of the world's smartest AI losing the developer war? Well, let's unpack exactly how that's happening. Section 1. The veteran versus the rookie. To really wrap our heads around this dynamic, we first need to look at the actual matchup. Think of OpenAI's GPT 5.6 like a veteran athlete who is just at the absolute peak of their career. It's reliable, it's highly efficient, it finds direct paths to solutions, and it just has this incredibly good game IQ. Then you have Anthropic's Claude Fable 5. This is the rookie. It is an absolute monster of a model with raw, unmatched talent. Technically, it's the smartest model out there, but it's just entering the big leagues. Anthropic has really only just begun the post-training process to squeeze all that potential juice out of it.
So the crucial point we have to keep in mind is this stark contrast. Anthropic holds the technical crown with superior intelligence, sure, but OpenAI confidently holds the market's favor, especially when it comes to developers. To figure out why the smartest AI isn't the most universally loved, we actually have to look backward.
Section 2. Anthropic's billion-dollar mistake.
To understand how OpenAI is winning this perception battle today, we have to rewind about 2 years to what turned out to be a fatal infrastructure miscalculation. A couple of years ago, Dario at Anthropic admitted they hesitated to overinvest heavily in compute infrastructure. And you can kind of see why, right? When you're buying up massive data centers, being off on your demand predictions by just a year or two can be totally ruinous. They were terrified of bankrupting the entire company if AI demand only grew at 5x a year instead of the predicted 10x. So they played it safe.
Ironically, that conservative bet completely backfired on them. First off, AI demand didn't just meet expectations, it skyrocketed way past them. Second, Anthropic successfully built the first 10 trillion parameter model, a true monsterized AI. And these two factors just aggressively amplified each other. They launched the biggest, most incredibly compute-hungry model in the world right as demand hit an all-time high, but they simply did not have the data center infrastructure to actually support it. In stark contrast, Sam Altman and OpenAI took the exact opposite approach. They risked the whole shebang. They firmly believed AI demand was going to explode and never slow down, so they just overinvested in GPU capacity super early on. By betting all their chips on massive infrastructure, they effectively future-proofed their operations so they could serve their models without breaking a sweat. Section 3. Intelligence versus true cost.
Let's move over to the data and see how this specific infrastructure gap actually plays out in the real world when we weigh performance against cost. If we look at raw intelligence first, Claude Fable 5 is indeed sitting in first place with a score of 60. But wait, GPT 5.6 Sol Max comes in right behind it at 59. Fable barely edges out OpenAI's veteran model by a single, solitary point to take the #1 spot on the planet. I mean, they are basically neck and neck in capability.
But hold on to that thought, because we have to talk about this number, $2.75. That completely changes the context, because that's the cost for Fable 5 to complete a single intelligence task. Suddenly, Anthropic's intelligence victory is totally undercut. While Fable 5 sits at $2.75 per task, OpenAI's GPT 5.6 delivers effectively the exact same level of intelligence for just about $1. That's roughly a third of the cost. If you're a developer or a buyer, getting 99% of the intelligence for 33% of the price, that is an incredibly attractive proposition.
Section 4. Winning the developer vibe war.
This massive disparity in cost and compute efficiency ultimately dictates how both of these companies treat their most critical audience. To really grasp this battle, you have to know how developers actually buy AI access. There are basically two ways. One, you grab a monthly subscription for somewhere between $20 and $200, which gives you a set quota of tokens. Or two, you use the direct API. Because the direct API is substantially more expensive on a per-token basis, developers desperately want to run their intense coding tasks through those cheaper, flat-rate monthly subscription quotas.
And you know what? This is exactly where the vibe war is won and lost. OpenAI has the server capacity to just be incredibly generous. Their team members are out there frequently resetting quotas for users, basically letting them burn through 100% of their allocation and then magically start over. They've even temporarily dropped the rolling 5-hour usage limits. Anthropic, on the other hand, is severely capacity constrained. They have strict quotas that are way too easy to burn through, and they've even debated pulling the Fable model out of this subscription plan entirely, which would force users over to the expensive API. OpenAI is literally using their massive compute surplus to actively poke the bear.
And Anthropic has all but confirmed this struggle themselves. Tar from Anthropic recently stated that they aim to keep Fable in the subscriptions, but explicitly added this caveat: as soon as capacity allows. They simply don't have the compute necessary to be as generous as OpenAI, and that 2-year-old infrastructure decision is heavily dictating their product strategy right now.
Meanwhile, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman goes into full salty mode with public stances like this. He is directly capitalizing on developer frustration with Anthropic's strict limits. By offering transparency, massive value, and super generous limits, OpenAI is winning the emotional battle. Developers don't just want a smart model. They want to feel valued, and OpenAI is practically rolling out the red carpet for them.
Section 5, the RSI wildcard. So, it seems like a clean sweep for OpenAI, right? Well, not so fast. Anthropic holds a wildcard that could rewrite the entire market overnight. We need to talk about recursive self-improvement, or RSI. This is a crazy phenomenon where the leading model is used to research and write the code for the next iteration of itself. It creates this continuous, exponential loop of advancement. In an RSI scenario, whoever's in the lead technically only gets faster and pulls even further ahead. And this brings up a really fascinating perspective. Actually, it's highly possible Anthropic doesn't care at all about winning the developer vibe war on Twitter. They might just need enough enterprise revenue from massive corporate contracts to fund their data centers. Why? So that Fable can quietly sit in the background and research the next, wildly more powerful generation of AI. Think about the potential advantages of RSI here. Because Fable 5 is technically the smartest model right now, if it's tasked with researching its own next iteration, it could potentially discover a software breakthrough that makes itself, say, 5 times more efficient. If that happens, the massive cost advantage OpenAI currently holds vanishes in the blink of an eye. The momentum of research compounds automatically, meaning the gap between the number 1 model and the number 2 model could widen permanently. Once RSI kicks in, whoever is in the lead generally takes the whole prize.
Which leaves us with this final, profound thought to consider. We're currently watching this massive war over server data centers, API pricing, and subscription token quotas. But if recursive self-improvement truly takes hold, and the AI learns to drastically rewrite its own efficiency, are these current battles over infrastructure just a temporary blip in the timeline? I'll leave you to ponder that one. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.